Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Monday, November 3rd, 2025. Stand up for your country. So I watched a 60-minute interview with President Trump last night, and then I read about 7 in the morning the entire transcript that CBS posted. I got to tell you, it was so convoluted and all over the place that I'm sitting there and I go, maybe it's me, but I didn't learn one thing, nothing from that interview. And I think the interview ran more than an hour. Didn't run that long on TV, but the transcript, there's a lot of stuff that they didn't air. And I'm going, what's going on? So it's my job to tell you what's going on, and I will. And I'm not trying to be petty or criticize Norah O'Donnell, the CBS correspondent. I don't want to do that. But I got to be honest. I mean, I'm watching, it's my time, and I'm trying to learn something, and I'm not learning. Now, if you disagree, if you did learn something, I will read your letter tomorrow. Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. Name in town, as always, but Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. It could be me, been in the business 50 years, so maybe I'm just way out of touch with, the regular discourse. So the interview is the subject of this evening's Talking Points Memo. I picked out 5 or 6 short sound bites, short 30 seconds or so, because the repetition was numbing. It was numbing. And again, I'm not trying to blame anybody here. I'm going to explain what was happening, that Donald Trump goes into an interview, and you got to pin him down with specifics. You got to hit him with stuff he's not expecting. Not because you want to gotcha him, all right? It's because you're not going to get anything if you ask predictable questions and he gives predictable answers that he's given 100 times before. He's got all that in, and he anticipated there wasn't going to be anything out of the usual, okay? It was obvious from the very beginning. So the government shut down, and there's some news today that the feds will start to fund the food stamps shortly. Specifics have not been released, but that money is going to start to flow. And it should, and I'll tell you why in a little while. Not to everybody. There's a lot of fraud in that, but there's a lot of need in that too. Okay, so we got to be very careful here. But anyway, the shutdown was obviously in play. It's breaking news. Here's what happened. Go.
Here's what I can't do. I can't give them $1.5 trillion so that they can give welfare to people that came into our country illegally, so that prisoners and that people from mental institutions and people that are drug dealers get vast amounts of money for health care. That I can't do.
So
what I can do is I can continue to run a great country. We have the best economy we've ever had.
All right. So there is some truth to what the president is saying, and I don't care if Chuck Schumer lies all day long. There is money rooted in Democratic states through Medicaid to illegal aliens. All you got to do is look at the budget for the state of Oregon. It's there, right? Black and white. $1.5 million earmarked for undocumented people through Medicaid. That's tax money. That's federal tax money given to Oregon by the feds. The Trump is right about that. But overall, it's a complicated situation. But the Republican Party is never going to give the Democratic Party a carte blanche to keep rising the costs of Obamacare. And, I wrote a column on BillO'Reilly.com. If it's got all the stats, how when Obamacare was passed, here was the number the Congressional Budget Office said was going to happen. It's way more than that, with no end in sight. No, it's going to bankrupt the nation. Continue to do this. Republicans are never going to do it. And the Democrats knew that, but tried to ram it through anyway, knowing the government was going to shut down. So Trump is holding firm. There's going to have to be some kind of accommodation made. I don't know what it is, but I'm still confident that will happen. But And I'm going to tell you at the end of the program, I got to fly this week. I'm not confident that plane's going to get off the ground. All right, the second one was about high prices. Now, this is the most important thing for the Trump administration right now, because they have to hold next year in the midterms Congress. Roll the tape.
I inherited the worst inflation in history of our country. We don't have inflation. We're down to 2%, even less than 2%. A couple of items like beef, I'm getting down. But our groceries are down.
Healthcare premiums?
I can fix healthcare. Give them better healthcare for less money. Obamacare is hurting people. Obamacare was a disaster from day one. I can fix it and make it good. I'd really rather start with a fresh plate, but if it's required to keep it, we can make it much better.
That's a good answer, okay, because if fiscally Obamacare is out of control. Not that the Democrats care about that. They don't care because they want the government to run health care. That's the goal. Yes, bankrupt Obamacare. Bankrupt it. And then the feds will have to take over the whole system. You know what that will lead to? And I'll get into this tomorrow. That will lead to a two-tier healthcare system in America, because doctors will just get out and go into concierge treatments. So the wealthy people, the affluent people, will have their private doctor. They'll pay more for it. And everybody else will be left with physician's assistants and RNs and all of this, because most of the doctors, they're gone. They're not going to do this government-run stuff. It happened in England. If you're wealthy, you're not in a public health system in Great Britain. You're not. You hired your own doctor. That's exactly what will happen here. That the poor working and the working people get much less in the medical area if the government runs everything. Boy. All right, the third one was the most controversial story right now about undocumented migrants and how ICE is tracking them down. Go.
Is it your intent to deport people who do not have a criminal record?
We have to start off with a policy, and the policy has to be you came into the country illegally, you're going to go out. However, you've also seen you're going to go out, we're going to work with you, and you're going to come back into our country legally, because we have a lot of good people. And we've accepted all of these people because of Biden's open border policy, where people would walk in totally unchecked and unvetted, murderers and everybody else.
When will you declare mission accomplished on immigration?
Well, it takes a long time because, probably I say 25 million people were let into our country.
I'd say 15, but as the president said later on, it doesn't really matter, 15, 25. The worst public policy ever in this country was the open border, totally engineered by one man. That was President Biden. Can I be any more clear than that? What a dereliction of duty. All right. Some advice for the Trump administration here from your humble correspondent. A heavy hand when you're not sure of criminality. So there's an ICE raid. You're not sure who you got. A heavy hand is not what you want. You got to protect yourself. Criminal alien, you have a warrant, you know it's a person, then you go. But if it's some woman or a child or something like that who just happens to be in the vicinity, lighter touch. Okay. Supreme Court and tariffs. Huge story for all of us because it will affect the American economy. Roll the tape.
What happens to your economic plan if the Supreme Court invalidates your tariffs?
I think our country will be immeasurably hurt. I think our economy will go to hell. Look, because of tariffs, we have the highest stock market we've ever had. Because of tariffs, 401ks at the highest level, and this is millions and millions of people that we've ever had, 401ks. I think it's the most important subject discussed by the Supreme Court in 100 years.
Maybe, because if the Supreme Court were to rule that the President of the United States does not have the power to impose tariffs without congressional approval, stock market get down 5,000 points in one day. That will happen. So, and the Supreme Court are deliberating on this right now. I'll make a prediction right here on November 3rd that the Supreme Court will uphold the president's right to unilaterally, that means by himself, slap tariffs on foreign nations. It almost has to. Because just what Donald Trump said, you'll blow up the whole system. That's how reliant we are now on this new trade situation. Okay. Finally, China, which you know I am deeply involved with this. Here, Norah O'Donnell, this was good. So most of her questions were predictable, not backed up by facts. She didn't seem to have command of both sides of the story. She's taken a liberal line. And Ms. O'Donnell is a liberal, as I wrote in a message of the day on BillO'Reilly.com. But that's okay. She's not a bad person. She's not corrupt. I know her. She's not. There's some of them that are horrible. But she's liberal, and she takes that line. But here, she asked a very good question about China. Go.
Our own intelligence agencies say the Chinese have infiltrated parts of the American power grid and our water systems. They steal American intellectual property and Americans' personal information. They bought American farmland. How big of a threat is China?
It's like everybody else. We're a threat to them, too. Many of the things that you say we do to them. Look, this is a very competitive world, especially when it comes to China and the U.S., and we're always watching them, and they're always watching us. In the meantime, I think we get along very well, and I think I think we can be bigger, better, and stronger by working with them as opposed to just knocking them out.
Good. That's exactly the way I feel. And you got to get along with these people. All right, summing up, number one, was that a fair assessment of the 60-minute interview? If I'm unfair, I want you to tell me. Bill at BillO'Reilly.com. All right? To me, I didn't learn anything. So I'm sitting there going, come on. I'm hoping that I can secure an interview with President Trump before the end of the year. That's my goal. He knows that we would like it. We were supposed to do it, but then he got the Hamas stuff going on and had to go over with the hostages. Now, if I get it, I'm going to really be under pressure, right? So, but boy, it'll be interesting. And that's the memo. America is more dangerous than ever with violent crime on the rise. While you could rely on a firearm, using deadly force today can land you in court, costing you years and your life savings, trying to prove you acted in self-defense. FBI data shows 99.9% of all altercations do not require lethal force. That's why smart Americans are turning to Byrna. Proudly made in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Byrna's less lethal self-defense launchers are trusted by law enforcement, private security, more than 600,000 citizens. Byrna launchers fire kinetic rounds and powerful tear gas or pepper projectiles, able to stop a threat up to 60 feet away. No background checks, no waiting periods, delivered right to your door. Take control, be ready. Visit Byrna.com today. That's BYRNA.com, or head to your local Sportsman's Warehouse. New York City. I live 8 miles outside the city, so I'm not affected directly by Mamdani. In fact, he did me a favor. My property is up 20% in estimated value since Zohran announced he wanted to be mayor. 20%. People getting out. Latest poll, Atlas, good poll, nailed the the Trump Kamala Harris race. Exactly. Atlas is out of Brazil. Here's what they say. Zohran Mamdani, 41%. Andrew Cuomo, 34. Slee with 24. Vote, of course, is tomorrow. And it's going to be the highest turnout in quite some time. Everybody's jazzed. Now, services and public safety are the two big things that, if Mamdani is elected, are going to be right forefront. Services being going to pick up your garbage. They're going to clean up the city. Traffic, congestion, pollution. I think it's all going to get worse. Public safety, no doubt it's going to get worse because Mamdani is soft on crime. Doesn't want to punish the criminals. Joining us now is John Chell. This is a great booking we got here. Mr. Chell just retired a few weeks ago as chief of department for New York City Police Department. He was the highest ranking uniformed officer in the department for the last couple of years. He joins us from Staten Island. That's a pretty good lead in for you, Chief, right?
Thank you, sir. Sound pretty good. Thank you.
Are you moving out of here if Mamdani wins?
Nah, I'll be staying right here, just trying to do my part and support the city the best I can. But like you said, if he wins, the whole paradigm of public safety is going to shift to a social network versus a law enforcement network. And, you know, in some places I worked a little bit in policing, but it really has the potential to hurt this whole city as it relates to public safety.
Give me some specifics on what you see happening.
Well, first look at his rhetoric. He's no fan of the police department by his own words. When you hear his rhetoric about he wants to maintain staffing levels, well, what does that mean? We're already down 1,000 cops, and about 3,800 change can leave in January. So he doesn't want to hire more cops, and we need more cops. Look at his rhetoric as it relates to crime. He's kind of nuanced. Well, I didn't say I don't want prostitution, but I want to decriminalize it. I didn't say I don't want to enforce misdemeanors, which those are those perception laws, right? But I don't want cops focused on low-level offenses. So he's sending signals out here that he wants more of a social network, and to pay for that, what about $1.8 billion into his community action teams? That's going to come from the police department budget. That's really going to hurt. Because, Bill, you know, this city's 24/7, 365. Every minute something happens here. We just came through. Yeah.
I do know that, and I know a lot about policing, as you know. And what I see is that 911 calls will be delayed because there just physically aren't going to be enough cops on the shifts to answer them as quickly as they need to be answered. The morale in a police department, setting up civilian review boards to Monday morning quarterback everything the cops do in the street. And these review boards, they don't like the police. They're anti-police. So before you left, Mamdani was obviously in play. Generally speaking, how did the police see this?
Well, you just hit it. Morale is hurting. It's hurting because we're understaffed and we're working too hard. And here's something you probably want to know, Bill. The cops want a great contract and they don't have one. But their biggest complaint of all, to all the unions, and I dealt with them every day, was the Civilian Complaint Review Board. If he gets his way, which is a ballot issue for next year, to have the Civilian Complaint Review Board be the final arbiter of complaints against cops, you will see a mass exodus. No cop is going to stay to let some 20-year-old kid who's not an investigator, pretending to be an investigator, who's going to adjudicate laws against the police department.
Sure.
That will be a backbreaker.
Well, it puts the cops in danger because they can be sued civilly. I mean, well, you can break them by filing a lawsuit on assault or whatever. But what we have been following is the assaults on police, physical assaults, people punching them, kicking them, all of that. And those crimes have risen dramatically, or am I wrong?
They're up about 40%, 40% since bail reform. And the conviction rate for a felony conviction for attacking a police officer is at an abysmal 6%.
Wow.
This is why recidivism, as much as we brought crime down, because we have a 30% rise in crime since bail reform. So we're fighting this new platform of crime by about 127,000 crimes a year, and we're getting it down 1, 2, 3, 4% because we suffer from recidivism. We suffer from lack of prosecution. Now, the ADAs, they inherited bail reform from our state legislative, but another actor here was not doing their job, are the judges. They're confusing their ideology for the law. The whole system is messed up here, Bill.
It's the DAs too, Bragg and particularly Bragg in Manhattan and Darcel Clark in Bronx. You know the case of the two NYPDs who were attacked on a subway platform in the Bronx on videotape. Both of them had to go to the hospital. There were 3 attackers. 2 were arrested and charged. That case has been adjourned 20 times, 2-0. They don't want to prosecute. Darcel Clark in the Bronx doesn't want to prosecute these thugs. They're out. They've been out. They haven't spent, I don't think they spent even an overnight in jail.
Well, I'll tell you something else, Bill. Okay, first of all, think about what happened. You're smoking a cigarette. Police officer asks you to distinguish the cigarette or leave. And their response is to a full frontal attack.
Yeah.
You get arrested for assault to a police officer. You go in front of a judge, and the judge lets them out. Now, 5 months later, Mr. McCleary gets locked up for an illegal gun. And
that's one of the guys charged.
Yes. Yep. He's one of the 2 that's charged with assault too. He gets locked up for a gun, and he's still out. He's a 2-time walking indictment.
Right.
Walking around our streets. This is broken.
Sure, but that's Albany, and that's the legislature. It's not Mamdani, but Mamdani sympathizes with that. But what annoyed me on this case, other than the obvious travesty of adjournment 20 times, is that the police unions didn't stand up. All right? They didn't. They should be out there with signs in front of Clark's office. They should be screaming and yelling. Nobody knows about the case. And these poor officers, and everybody in the cops know, they know they're not going to get a lot of support if they even get shot. And that's the final word. You got a guy who's soft on crime, Mamdani. There's no question he's soft on crime. You got a budget cutter who's going to take money away from the police. You got 911 where the innocent people in New York who are set upon by dangerous criminals, that's their last line of defense. And that's going to collapse, I predict right now. Last word.
It's a recipe for disaster. Response times are going to go higher. Calls for service are already up 20%. And then if you're going to hamstring the cops, they are not going to be proactive. They're going to be reactive. They're not going to take chances. And the collective effect is going to really hurt the city. We already came back from bail reform from 2022 because we were stuck in COVID. I don't know if we can come back a second time. And
I don't know. Really Mamdani in 4 years is going to do so much damage, not only to the police, but to the social fabric of the city. It almost will be unrecognizable. Hey, Chief, we really appreciate it. Enjoy your retirement, and we'll talk again soon, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let's face it, the U.S. economy is under stress. National debt rising, trade war shaking the markets. And meanwhile, China is dumping the dollar and stockpiling gold. That's why I protected my savings with physical gold and silver through the only dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. And you can do this. Get precious metals delivered to your door or place in a tax-advantaged gold IRA. They'll even help you roll over your existing IRA or 401k, tax and penalty free. With billions in precious metals delivered, thousands of 5-star reviews, and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, you can trust American Hartford Gold as I do. Please call 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Again, that's 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. When you're buried in credit card and loan debt, it's easy to put it off and say, I'll deal with it later. But here's the thing. Done with Debt has a little-known strategy that can dramatically reduce or even erase what you owe. This fall, they will aggressively engage your lenders because they know rich credit card and loan companies are doing year-end accounting and cutting deals to clear debt fast, meaning you need to start with Done with Debt right now, this fall. They can help end your debt fast without bankruptcy or loans. In fact, most clients have more money in their pocket the first month. So get started while you still have time. Go to donewithdebt.com. Talk with one of their specialists for free. Visit donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. All right, final thought. As I mentioned earlier, I got to go to L.A. On Wednesday. We'll be there do the Bill Maher show, Howie Mandel show, Billy Bush show, lots of shows. And then I got to cast Confronting Evil for the movies. Busy. I'm hoping the plane takes off. I'll be whining if it doesn't. But that's what we got going on this week. But we will be here the rest of the week, giving you the best information possible. Thank you very much for watching the No Spin News and listening on the radio. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today.